We're back at the Richmond Coliseum, and we're going to move into the modified tractor pull competition, 7,200-pound tractors. Mike, let's talk about the track and where it stands right now in terms of condition after what we saw with the four-wheel drive vehicles.
Track is still basically the same as it was, but these vehicles weigh more. They got a bigger tire on them. You're going to see the same basic thing that happened in the tractor class. The earlier pullers are going to have more of an advantage over the later pullers, but the one difference being on these tractors that they have enough tire speed that they can get up on top of the track. They won't bury down in the track. You're going to see them hurting on the big end down at the finish line area for traction down there. I think they're going to have a good run for 150 feet or so. After that, I feel like the box is going to be on top of them, and it's going to be hard sledding.
Dusty Arfons, the daughter of Art, will be first up tonight from Akron in really, which is a kind of a smaller version than Art's tractor. But let's also talk about more weight on the sled. There's more weight on the sled than there was for the four-wheel drives.
Well, they've added 7,500 pounds to the sled itself. And on top of that, they're going to run the box up much quicker. Now, look, Dusty's got extensions. This is Art's old tractor, and she's got her feet resting on the brakes right now. But to get the brakes within reach, they had to put about some 6-inch extensions on top of the foot pedals. There's the foot pedals and the extensions you can see down the lower part of your screen where they originally worked for Dad. But they've taken some radiator hose clamps and put some extensions on them. And Dusty, not quite as tall as her father, but really done a heck of a job.
Turbine engine is flaring now. That's all part of it. I love it. What a neat shot.
Cleans the motor out, and you think Dad has done that once or twice before, as he never blinks an eye.
There's Art.
And this family, Art, Dusty, and Art's wife, or Dusty's mother, all travel together almost every show, but the mother stays outside in the motorhome. Doesn't come in to watch the competition.
Well, here's Dusty.
Turns the wick up, pulls her feet off the brakes, and let's go for a ride. She's the first puller in the class, and she's got a good one going.
She was doing okay, though, about that 100-foot mark, and then something happened.
Drifted off to the right. She tried to bring it around a little bit. When it did, it hurt the momentum on the tractor. Let's watch Dusty as she leaves with it. When her foot comes off of the brake, puts them down on the pad, brakes are released, power is up, easing into it. She's got a good run, but the tractor bouncing a little bit. Front end begins to lift on it. You want it to. She's trying to bring it around with the steering wheel. Doesn't get on the brakes. Looks like she's really contemplating the brakes, but it lands enough to pull her around, and that shuts her off. That's Art's old tractor. Dusty doing a fine job of driving. Now, the little black spot right there in the middle is a little window that she can look behind the tractor and see to back up.
The Dragon Lady tonight goes 132 feet and 9 inches. Dusty Arfons. And we're going to jump on the highway to the danger zone. This is Top Gun, Ron Washkow, Iowa Falls, Iowa. Look at this baby, 2 V12 Allisons, 1,710 cubic inches in each. Ron comes to play.
2 fuel-injected Allisons and set crossways. There's Ron's daughter, and that's running a video camera. I would say that the video camera probably has improved truck and tractor pulling as much as anything in the common age, because these people for years and years rode the tractor. They never actually got to see what was happening on it.
Right.
Now that you make a pass, while it's still fresh in your mind, you look at the video, you know that you needed another 100 pounds on the back, or you went down the wrong side of the track. It's really improved the sport.
You said you saw her doing algebra before the show up in the stands.
Before the competition, and now she was setting up in the stands doing her algebra.
Everybody back in Iowa Falls, Ron's daughter is doing the homework while she's on the road. Here's Pop in Top Gun.
This machine works. Front end up, good pass.
Lost a little something at the end, but it was a great pull until then, and a flare out, as you can see, to boot.
Burning off the excess fuel, and he just loaded the motors. Motors begin to lug down, and they lug down because of the weight on the sled going up, transferring it off, the power that was putting out, the traction, loaded the motors up. He shut one of the engines down now. He'll only run on one motor as he backs it back into the pit area.
That's not real dangerous, is it, that flare-up?
It really isn't, Ken. All they're doing is burning off some excess fuel.
The Top Gun, Ron Washkow.
Let's watch Ron leave and into the throttle fairly early. You notice look at his left hand as he nails it down, just easing into it. Further he goes, the further the hand goes. The front end comes up, begins to lift. He's got good traction. Right in this area, the box is topping out on him, putting all the weight on him. It's really putting a strain on the twin Allison. That's when you see it lug down just a little bit. That's all he can do tonight. It's a good pull. It's going to take the lead.
Ron Washkout, a pull tonight of 169 feet, 4.5 inches. That's just a fine pull. He is the mark to beat. But next up is a guy that Mike Galloway likes. He likes the way he drives, and he's got a tractor tonight with 4 engines. This is the Blazing Bison, Steve Jaski from New Berlin, Wisconsin. 4 blown Aries. My goodness.
This is an awesome tractor. The young gentleman does a great job of driving. There's 2 motors set crank to crank in front. Those 2 engines right there are crank to crank. Then there's 2 motors right in front of the tires that are set bell housing to bell housing. They all go into a transfer case and then into the drive shaft that takes it to the rear axle. Ken Brew, a very, conservative figure, 5,000 horsepower.
You got to ask yourself the question, though, on a track like this that's so torn up, could it be too much?
It won't be too much. You're going to use the big horsepower because of the track. A lot of people is going to run out of traction. He's going to have the extra horsepower to turn the tires harder, to put more traction down.
So the end of the track where a lot of these guys may fall apart,
he'll have the ground speed to go over it.
Right. Good shot of him there, Steve Jaski. It is a monster.
Now here's the young man that at one time was as close to a professional snowmobile racer as you could ever get.
Is that right?
He and his father campaigned snowmobiles for a number of years and left that and went into the pulling sport. And as you can tell, when they went in full time.
Yeah, you betcha.
Run a trucking company up in New Berlin. They hauled salt for the bad roads. Watch the tires. To beat. He shattered it.
That's a full pull. My goodness.
Ken Brew, to say the least, that's a full pull. He nailed the tractor. It hooked. And when it hooked, it stayed glued to the ground all the way down.
Blazing Bison, the mark to beat, 214 feet, 9.5 inches. Well, something has got to hold these tires onto the cars, in particular onto the rims. Well, that's a subject for our Mike Galloway right now.
Traction in the pulling world is the name of the game, and it's something as simple as a 59-cent metal screw that makes all the difference in the world. The tires and the wheels operate as 2 separate units, but when you take a little screw, a metal screw, drill a hole through the tire and bolt the tire to the wheel, at that point they become 1 unit. Makes for better traction. The tire will not spin on the wheel, and you can keep all the power to the ground. This is just one of the simple things that makes for a good pulling truck.
And it might be a good time to tell you that a proud sponsor of the U.S. Hot Rod Association is Goodyear Wrangler Tires. Life is not tough, folks. You either have Goodyear Wranglers or you need them. We're back in Richmond, Virginia, and we are right in the middle of the modified tractor competition. We saw Ron Washkow earlier. This is son Troy.
Troy's a very fine puller, and he does a great job running 1 Allison, 1 fuel-injected Allison, and Troy will drive every bit of the power out of it. 1 weight on the front. He's going to try to get it to come up.
That's a fine pull for an engine that really doesn't maybe have the kick that some of these other ones do. He did a nice job.
I think he did all he could do. I think he covered all the territory. He had balance good on the tractor. The horsepower was good. The tractor pounded out a lot of horsepower, but here again, we've got a heavy sled, and we've got lack of traction. Watch him pick the front end up early. Now, there's only 1 weight on it. He's still got the front end dancing around the ground. He can drive it a little bit. When he does that, it straightens him out, puts him down the middle of the course, and look at the ruts there on the track that he's trying to straddle. And he's doing a pretty good job of straddling them, keeping the front end up, balance on it's perfect, takes it down, good part of the track, just cannot get a whole shot enough to take him across it.
And for Troy Washkow tonight, a good pull, 123 feet and 7 inches. And now backing in for a little go of it is the legendary Art Arfons in the Green Monster. He has got those 2 GE turbines. He'll light them up and he'll let them wail. If there's a bigger name in this sport, you tell me about it. Here's Art getting a few last-minute instructions.
Having a little problem, looks like. There's Dusty passing along some message to him.
And the great thing about Art is that he puts on a show. It's not just a pull down the track for him. He gives you a little song, a little dance before it when he lights the engines up. Good shot there, too.
This is his new turbine. That's his third turbine that he's got set.
Where do people get I mean, you can't obviously go to like a Kmart or something and buy a turbine engine. Where does he get them from?
There are numerous places that handle government surplus aircraft engines, jets, turbines, internal combustion engine. And if you got the money, they'll supply the motors.
So a turbine is obviously something that you hunt for, but is a very expensive proposition.
True. Art, of course, been in the aircraft engines forever. He knows the people and where to get them. There's a large place out in Arizona that has a number of turbines. And Art built these from various pieces that he picked up throughout the country, from various destroyed motors, and put them all together. The man is absolutely a genius.
Well, the engines are heating up, and the flares are about to come.
Watch Dusty. She's on the left-hand side in the blue uniform. She steps away. Know that it's up to operating capacity. He sets in between these two big turbine engines. Now, this is the most important part of a turbine. The reason they were never mass-produced is because of the time that it takes and of the starting of the motors. They have to be up to a certain RPM before you can turn the fuel on. Dusty steps away. Art pumps the brakes. It's a sign that everything's on go.
Here we go. Watch this. Watch the flare.
Ken Brew, to do this, he's going to have to really turn the tires hard, and he's got to get up on top of the track right out of the starting line.
Here comes Art Arfons. Whoa! Oh, man.
Beautiful job.
Oh, and the crowd loves it.
Art really doing a good job. Moved into second place, there's no doubt about that. But right on the end, the power wasn't there.
Art Arfons lights it up and lets it wail.
And he does what he needs to do, Ken. You'll notice, look at the tires. They're staying on top of the ground. There's very little lug on those tires. He's got good traction, but there's not a lot of lug on them, so he's not digging into the track. He's up on top of it, much like hydroplaning. He's watching that right-hand side, trying to stay off of it. Didn't realize he got that close to that side, and that could be what really hurt him on that pass, is that he got too close to the right-hand side and had to hit the brakes. Look at the mound of dirt that was stacked up in front of the sled. And that's one of the reasons, Ken, that you're seeing these tires with very little or no lug on them, because with the larger lug, the taller lug, they would dig up a lot more dirt and throw it in front of the sled. There's the video camera, and during the pass, he's very busy, cannot actually read the gauges. But when he installed that, he found that he had 35% more horsepower that he could still dial into those motors.
So that camera is aimed directly at the gauges.
At a set of gauges.
And he can go back and look at that after the run and figure out if he gave it everything that was there.
The gauge is very important to it. The video camera will take care of the recording all of it.
Art Arfons, the Green Monster. What a pull tonight. What a show. 200 feet, 9.5 inches. It's a big night of competition here at the Richmond Coliseum in Richmond, Virginia. There, a shot of the roof, and you can see some of the smoke that has risen to the top. Does get a little smoky here as the night progresses. But everybody seems to be having a good time, and why wouldn't they? Because next up is Bill Leischner in the Dirt Slinger. This guy comes to run 3 Aries, 572 cubic inch each. Bill's from Weldon, Illinois.
Last year's national champion with the United States Hot Rod Association. Wears his ring with pride. Watch him.
Just didn't have the kick at the end, but a pretty fair run.
They move him into the number 3 spot, but Ken Brew show you the talent and the power he had. When we look at this again, right on the finish line, he's headed out of bounds. There's just no doubt about it. He's out of bounds. The weight box is already topped out on him. He knows that everything's there, but he still touches that brake and has enough power. Look at him. He shotguns it right out of the hole, pulls it wide open. All we're going to do now is set and ride. The front end's up in the air. Don't want to correct too much. He's not even close to the brake, but he's drifting hard to that left-hand line, and he's getting close to it. But look at that. See how it pulls the tractor around. He hits the brakes, pulls it around, and still goes another 10 feet. Beautiful job showing the horsepower of those big Aries engines.
Look at the track. Look at what has been dug up at the end of that run. It gives you a great idea of how loose and how sandy and, frankly, how, well, undesirable the track is at this point. The dirt slinger, Bill Leichner, we're told, broke a rod in his engine, and that might have kept him from second or first place. Leichner winds up third, then Arfons in the Green Monster finishing second. But the big win tonight goes to the Blazing Bison, Steve Jaski, a pull of 214 feet, 9.5 inches. He was dialed in, as Mike Galloway would say.
Awesome power all the way around. He uses the power very, very conservatively off the starting line. The tractor balance is real good. Front end picking up just a little bit. The torque from the motors lifting the left front tire. Here's a young man that's doing a tremendous job of driving, just feathering the motors down the track, but still enough power, enough ground speed to hook everything to the ground and blow it right out the door. The sled did not stop him. He ran out of ground and backed out of the motors.
We're going to blow it out the door here just for a second, but we'll be back. Monster truck competition. It's all straight ahead, so please stay tuned.